Welcome back. You have tuned in to Women's AM. This morning, I'm joined by Sister Nusrat, Sister Ayan, and our special guest this morning is Nasima Bibi. Welcome back to the show, sisters. I've been working with you so long and I almost forgot your name, Ayan, there. I know. Sister Nasima, Jazakallah khair for joining us again, and I'm sure you're going to bring, so much experience to this topic. But I know at home you've really got your hands full, mashallah, haven't you? You're studying yourself, and obviously you're a mother, and obviously, teaching your children as we're discussing today. So what I want to know is how do you manage it all? How do you manage your time?
Well, alhamdulillah, I think I'm actually quite a very strict person and I like to have routines for everything.
Right, okay.
So I think in order to be able to manage everything, you need to have routines and timetables with your children, with your studies, and with everything you want to do. So
yeah.
I've got a routine for my children. I've got a time when we will study, a time for playing, a time, for everything.
Okay, so you have that all
bedtimes,
everything's
mapped out so that everyone knows when everything's going to happen, basically, and that makes life a lot easier. Otherwise, I can't imagine like a chaotic household.
Well, you'd hate my household then. The thought of the, schedules and everything fills me with dread. You'll have to give me some tips on that another time, inshallah. Without further ado, let's go straight to her views, where today we're discussing teaching our children Arabic. We would all love to have the ability to speak another language, and those of us that do understand how much of an asset it can be, both professionally and personally. We see today that certain languages are being taught to children in anticipation of how and where the world's businesses will be conducted. So as Muslim, teaching our children Arabic plays an important role in how we would like to shape their future. But if it isn't your first language or you aren't confident with it, it can be difficult to know how or where to start. Today, we talk about teaching your child Arabic, and this is, of course, a live discussion, so please do call the studio to share your experiences. The number is on your screen now, or you can tweet us at Islam Channel, #WAM15. So, Sister Nasima, I don't know what's wrong with me and names this morning, but I'm going to come straight to you first of all. So, why is it, first of all, important that we speak Arabic and that we teach this to our children?
Well, there's a couple of points I want to mention. So one of the points is about the fact that Arabic actually links the revelation with the societal life. So in terms of, how to rule what is obligation and what is not, you need Arabic to actually understand this. And with Arabic, then you can actually look at the revelation, look at the Quran, and then bring it into live, basically make it live and bring it into society. So, at the moment, Arabic isn't used for this. So if we want Arabic to come back to what it's meant to be for, we need to learn Arabic, we need to teach it to our families and, make it a part of our lives. And the other thing is that, we know that we can't really guide our children, isn't it?
Yeah.
The guidance is in Allah's hands. Yeah. So what we can do is give them the tools to be able to, gain closest to Allah and build a strong relationship with Him. Yeah. So Arabic is the tool. If you want to understand the Quran, because obviously we know the Quran is in Arabic, then you need to actually have that tool, you need to know the Arabic. Yeah. And, this is why it's so important to teach our children Arabic and even for ourselves to learn as well.
But even as Muslims, education is really, really important, because the first bit of a revelation that came down to the Prophet ﷺ, which was from Surah Alaq, read, Iqra, read in the name of your Lord who created all that exists. And that for me is really, really interesting, because anything could have been revealed, at that first moment, but Iqra was revealed, read was revealed. So that reinforces education. And then as Muslims, what do we value most when it comes to education? And obviously that's our deen. And what consists of our deen is Arabic language as well, because how can we gain that closeness to Allah, gain that closeness to the Quran, if we don't actually understand it? I mean, it's one thing reading the translation, but when you understand the meaning and all the different kind of meanings that derive from a single word or a single phrase, it opens the things up to you that you wouldn't imagine. So it just reinforces the fact that this is the way to get closer to Allah, is being able to read and write and speak in the language in which the revelation came down.
I think that's absolutely true. I always think it's like, when you watch a foreign movie and you can't really understand what's going on, you might get a vague idea, as we do when we read the translations, but we do miss an awful lot as well, because when you look at the tafsir, there's so much in there. And I know when I was pregnant, I suddenly had this huge wave of guilt come over me that I didn't know Arabic, and I rushed out to, find a teacher and start to teach myself. But obviously obviously, you know, by that stage I wasn't going to be fluent by the time, you know, I was in a position where I would need to teach it to my daughter. So I think this can also present a problem as well. If we're not fluent in Arabic, if we're not confident, yeah, how can we help our child? Sister Nusrat.
One of the ways in which people can encourage or help their child to know Arabic, particularly if you as a parent aren't fluent, would be also to sometimes encourage the usage of the little that you do know in the house, because you'll find that by doing that, it's not only motivating the child, but it's also motivating you as well. And through that, the vocabulary will build. And once the vocabulary builds, the understanding becomes much more deeper in that sense. So that's one thing you could do. You could also use media as a means of acquiring this knowledge. So what I mean by that is, well, sometimes if you can find a film, try and make the actors of the film talk in Arabic if you have that language setting, and then put the subtitles in English. You'll find that by doing things like that, it may help as well. Phone settings on things like phones, tablets, computers, that helps build your vocabulary. For me, I think as well, it actually helps because I put my YouTube settings actually in Arabic, and actually through doing that, it's actually helped me, regardless of whether I was aware of it or not. So that also helps, because you'll find that they're going to pick up the kind of letter recognition, and also just dedicating some time to even just sit and read with your child, because even if you don't understand it, the fact that you'll see that your child is motivated, that propels you as well to do that. And I think from my experience, it really did help me having someone beside me, having my dad beside me to actually help me with Arabic. I've still got a long way to go, but at least that initial step helped
absolutely
me.
And you know what, I really agree with what you're saying about if you hear the Arabic language around you a lot of the time, it does really help. And I think with children, what I've noticed with my daughter is that she can do a lot of the sounds that I struggle with. She can actually pronounce them fairly easily because she's been used to sort of hearing them ever since she's been developing her language skills, you know, from an early age. So that was really beneficial. And the other thing I used was a vocabulary book, as you said, and it's just, you know, 1,000 words, 1,000 Arabic words to teach children. And we do kind of like one a week, or, you know, when I was teaching her first words, I would kind of pick them out of the Arabic, so she learnt the Arabic word before the English. So, you know, there are things we can do to kind of, you know, fumble through it. But Sister Nasima, I'm keen to know how you kind of, because you know, you're not a native Arab speaker, but you know, you've obviously learnt this and presumably passing it on to your children. So what kind of methods did you use?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is that, you know, our children see our struggles and they learn from it. So I think it's really important that us as parents, that, you know, we don't just enforce it on our children like, you have to learn Arabic. But, you know, we have to do it ourselves. We have to make that struggle ourselves, because children, when they see their parents, you know, we are role models for our children. So if they see us struggling and working hard towards learning, and they see that this is something that's really important to us, so we're going to make effort, even if it is like, you know, how you're saying that, you know, you were pregnant and you were trying to learn, but, you know, you couldn't go more further with it. But they see that, isn't it? They see that we're making the steps and we're trying. And inshallah, you know, the children, they will want to try it too, because they'll see like, why does my mum work so hard for this?
Yeah, but even doing it together, so even if Arabic is not your first language, or you don't speak it at all, and you're trying to teach your child, do it together as well. That's always a good way. It becomes like your thing that you do together, and they love that. Kids love having like me time with my mum or my dad, so even just sitting down and doing it with them as a thing that you do together really helps.
Yeah, it's true. It's a bonding thing, isn't it?
You'll find that even with the picking up of the Arabic language and words, you'll find that even with my mum, she actually knows some Arabic words. Like if you say salam alaikum to her, she'll reply wa alaikum salam. But that could have been also because you've grown up, not grown up, but you've been married to a Muslim family, or married into a Muslim family. So she says assalamu alaikum. She knows what. She does confuse ghusl with wudu at times, but she's picking up vocabulary.
It's amazing how much you pick up just by being exposed to it in that way, isn't it? It's so true. What an important topic this is, and we've touched on some of the ways that we can approach teaching Arabic to our children. We do have to go for a break now, but stay tuned, as we'll be talking more about how we can motivate our children and hopefully give you some useful tools. Just before we go, here is a reminder of this week's competition.
This week on Women's AM, we are holding an exciting competition.